Hello there, I'm Eamon Holmes.
And I'm Isabel Webster.
And we hope you can join us for...
Breakfast with Eamon.
And Isabel.
You make me laugh out loud, belly laugh.
Is that important first thing in the morning?
Yeah, absolutely.
And there's me trying to be deadly serious. News is a serious business.
Yeah, I have to rein you in sometimes.
Well, it doesn't stop us laughing at it. It doesn't stop us having an opinion on what's going on.
Yeah.
And it certainly will not stop us reflecting what you think.
Weekdays from 6 to 9:30 on GB News.
I'm Dan Wootton. Join me Monday to Thursday from 9 to 11 for the feistiest and most fun news debate on TV, where free speech reigns. I'll bring you a sharp take on the day's biggest stories, bombshell newsmaker interviews, and A-list guests. And I guarantee you, no spin, no bias, no censorship, and no reason to go to bed. That's Dan Wootton tonight, Monday to Thursdays from 9 on GB News.
Good evening, I'm Simon Evans and this is Headliners. Very shortly we will be taking a look at Wednesday morning's newspapers. But first, here's Ray Addison with the news.
Thanks, Simon. Here's the latest from the GB newsroom. President Zelensky says peace talks with Russia are tough and sometimes confrontational, but step by step we are moving forward. It comes as the Ukrainian president said 100,000 people are living in Mariupol in inhuman conditions without food, water or medicine. Kyiv has appealed to Moscow to allow the evacuation of at least 100,000 civilians who want to leave. Meanwhile, 300,000 people trapped in the occupied city of Kherson are also said to be running out of food and medical supplies. The United States has strongly condemned what it's called Russia's orchestration of a sham trial against Kremlin critic Alexei Navalny. It comes after a court found him guilty of large-scale fraud and sentenced him to a further 9 years in a maximum security prison. Navalny, one of President Putin's most prominent critics, is already serving a 2.5-year sentence for parole violations. The Sir David Amess murder trial has heard the accused threatened to kill 4 more people after he attacked the MP. The court was shown CCTV footage of the suspect, Ali Harbi Ali, travelling to Sir David's constituency in Essex in October last year. A 999 call made by Yvonne Eves, who had an appointment to see the MP, was later played to the jury.
Please, quick now. The man is wielding a knife and he's threatened me. He's killed David Amos at Belfast Methodist Church. But we need an ambulance as well. He wants to get shot, apparently. He wants to be a hero. He wants the police to come and shoot him.
Who? What, the person with the knife?
Yes. Yes. You need an armed response unit here.
We have, yeah.
He's coming. You can get in round the back of the church, apparently.
That was the voice of Yvonne Eves. The RMT union has accused P&O Ferries of blackmail after the company announced it's offering sacked staff more than £36 million in compensation. The payouts will be linked to their period of service, with 40 of the 800 employees set to receive more than £100,000 each. But the RMT says if staff don't sign up, giving away their right to take the case to an employment tribunal, they'll receive a fraction of the amount. The Duke and Duchess of Cambridge have been filmed diving off the coast of Belize as they continued their royal tour of the Caribbean, marking the Queen's Platinum Jubilee. William and Kate donned scuba gear to check out the second largest barrier reef in the world. The trip came ahead of a visit to Jamaica, where there's been protests. Campaigners are calling for the British monarchy to pay reparations for slavery and apologise for human rights abuses. On TV, online and on DAB+ radio, this is GB News. Now let's get back to those headliners.
Hello and welcome back to Headliners. I am your host, Simon Evans, and joining me tonight we have Sajila Kershi and Josh Howie. Good evening, lady and gentlemen. How are you?
Good.
Yeah, good mate.
You're wearing your signature colour again. Glad to see.
A little bit of red.
Bit of
if
scarlet
it's-
flash.
Yes. If it's not on me, that will be under me.
Oh, gosh, there's an interesting image for us to toy with. And how about you, Josh? You're in your signature grey.
I didn't know I had a signature.
Grey stubble, grey hair, grey beard, grey...
Old-looking person. Thanks, mate.
And a grey outlook.
That's like the grey kettle calling the grey
old
pottle.
grey pot. I know.
Pot, yeah.
I'm looking quite... You were kind enough to draw attention. I'm wearing a slightly more fashionable sort of
Look at you,
jacket.
hip to the beat.
Yeah.
I had half an hour to kill in TK Maxx a couple of weeks ago, and I picked up a young man's jacket.
I love TK Maxx.
This is the benefit of touring: is you end up in weird cities.
Yeah, this is Topshop, mate.
Yeah.
Topshop. You know.
Topshop is, and they're all the same. There's no skill to shopping in Topshop. The key with TK Maxx is like the modern jumble sale, right? There's only one of everything.
Yeah.
You've just got to really root around in there. It takes time and skill. Application.
Are TK Maxx paying you, Simon?
I know. I do suddenly feel I've probably drifted into slightly...
Little advertising there.
Other remnant shops are available. So let's take a look at tomorrow's front pages. We start with the Daily Mail. You can spike the hike, Rishi, with up to £50 billion to play with. Chancellor urged to axe worst timed tax rise in history. I have some sympathy for that view. And a photograph of the Duke and Duchess enjoying their scuba trip, which you just saw in the Caribbean there. Then we have the Daily Telegraph leading with Ukrainians regain key territory in fight back. We will be covering that story very shortly. And also cabinet split over new onshore wind push. The Eye has landmine danger in Ukraine for decades. I don't know if that's been there for decades or decades to come. I dare say that will emerge. In The Guardian, ashes of a dead land. Russia lays waste to Ukrainian port. And Chancellor to stand by hard-working families, whether metaphorically or just for a photo shoot, not clear. The Financial Times leads with Sunak to lay aside windfall cash rather than helping households, and oil pipeline squeeze raises fears of Kremlin retaliation over sanctions. The Times leads with Ukrainian troops are running out of weapons. Oh dear. In the Daily Express, Rishi, I'll ease the economic pain. Slightly more upbeat assessment from the Express, and the Daily Star says it's going to be the hottest spring for 180 years, and Cockney victims, you're having a giraffe. EastEnders are hit by cruel discrimination, but Pressure Group launches a fight back. And those, ladies and gentlemen, are the headlines. So, a lead story, quite a few to choose from there, quite a lot of stuff about Rishi, but we're going to open with the Ukraine update. They've pushed back against the Russians. Sounds like some quite good news.
As far as good news goes in a war, people dying. But yes, this is in the Telegraph, and Ukrainian troops are making pushing back against Russian troops and actually regaining some territory. When a war happens or when COVID happens, everybody becomes an expert. Certainly those of us who spend our time on Twitter. And I have read a few threads, so I don't want to come across like I've read books and books about this stuff. Right. But my understanding is, I was reading this article and applying it to this thread that I've read, is that this is actually quite pivotal stuff, because you got Kyiv, which the capital city, and that was sort of nearly getting surrounded. If that gets surrounded, that's a real problem, obviously. Yeah. So they've taken back a town there, which is going to stop that advancement, and a motorway. That's a big deal.
That keeps a corridor open.
Keeps the corridor into Kyiv, and so supplies and people can get in and out and stuff. But the important thing is that also the centre of the country could be cut off. So there's a city in the east of the country. They've taken back that city. That's a big deal. And then down south, which would stop them coming up from Crimea, in a important town there has also been retaken. So these are all positive steps in terms of not letting the country be split in half and also keeping Kyiv somewhat safe. And those are positive things. Of course, at the same time, you've still got the port city, what we saw in the newspaper there, Mariupol just basically being just destroyed and blown apart with civilians still there, unbelievable war crimes. And the danger that people are now saying is that as these pushbacks are happening, they're worried about Putin and what he will do in desperation. Possibly, they're saying, poisonous gas, which is what the Russians did in Syria.
Yes.
And they seem to be using a lot of the same tactics in terms of attacking hospitals and civilians and using
So you
poison
think,
gas.
in a sense, although whenever there's good news, the corollary to that might be that in frustration and rage, Putin just simply raises the stakes.
Yeah.
But I don't like that because I don't like it as a sort of use and excuse
Defeatist,
to not fight back. Oh no, we're afraid what he's going to do, so let's just let him win. And that's, I think, what's got us into the situation.
But it's also
it's
important to celebrate the wins that you do get.
Yeah, absolutely.
And like that great image of the woman with the curly hair, you know, it's a really powerful image of a woman with a gun.
They're very good with their images of women.
Yeah,
and
they are.
guns.
They're very good, obviously pro-women there. But, you know, you want to
Pro-propaganda
celebrate the
women.
wins, which is, what we're doing today. But, of course, there is a worry if reports are true, and I'm going to try not to be too negative, but if reports are true that he has got some terminal illness, that...
Putin?
Yeah, apparently, because he's looking peaky and stuff. But then I suppose if we started a war,
I think we may have lurched into the realm of the spectres.
But I'd like to think that we'd get to him before whatever that would make him react the way you're just saying, like, go crazy with the chemical warfare. But yeah, for now, let's just celebrate this nice win, really.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, there's not much more you can say. As we can only report the news as it's happened today, strategy, outcomes, and so on. Even the professionals have been calling it wrongly, right, left, and centre. So I suppose all we can say is that sounds like a good day's work has been done. It turns out Boris Johnson uses WhatsApp to communicate critical government decisions. This is from the Mail.
Yeah. And the government have been taken to task, and basically they're trying to sue them because these digital communications. When the law was written, there was a law I think from about Government Information Public Records Act of 1958. Yeah. They obviously weren't taking into consideration what would happen in the future at WhatsApp and things. So for a lot of people
1958, what did they have? Slates.
Yeah, they didn't have fax machine. A
little tie that they then had to split with a knife.
But of course, those texts have replaced people calling each other nowadays, and they do act as a. Sorry?
That's all right, isn't it?
Well, yes, but you have a written word. Yeah. And so the idea is that if it's written down, it really should be recorded. And certainly as we're going to look into what happened with COVID and now sort of different reports are going to be written about the last few years, if a lot of this communication doesn't exist because they use these deleting message apps.
You're thinking of Snapchat. WhatsApp.
I know, but there's a function which deletes the messages, or they are deleting messages. So there's been evidence that lots of governmental, and not just Boris Johnson, but lots of other ministers are deleting their messages, or they're using this thing that deletes.
Well, that sounds to me like the story is government ministers, including Boris Johnson, are deleting messages rather than the platform they've used to write.
No, it's not. Yeah, it's not about the platform, but it could be like letters they were tearing up. But this is the equivalent to that, and obviously it's a lot easier to do it when it's happening automatically.
That is true.
But also, weren't they they were using their own phones and not the phones that are given to them, where everything is automatically recorded.
This is enough to lose Hillary then.
Yeah, which sounds like they might have their own burner phones, and who uses burner phones? Dodgy people, people who lie, people who cheat.
I've always wanted to have a burner.
But also, they said the concern is the material is not being properly considered and it is at risk of being deleted and lost entirely, and therefore meets the test of falling foul of their own policies. Who knew that this government would fall foul of their own policies? Yeah.
It's a funny thing, though, isn't it, how certain communication devices or modes do seem to carry more weight and seem to be more evidential of serious intent and a considered opinion. If I just say something to you now off the cuff, that's about as unserious as it can get. I get cross if people hold me to this the following morning on Twitter. If you write somebody a text or something, that's one thing. If you write them an email, I can remember the last time I wrote anyone a letter. If you publish a book and have it peer-reviewed, do you know what I mean? There's all these kind of
this is Marshall McLuhan, The Medium as the Message. I sound almost like I might be intelligent there, but that happens to be the one book I have read.
Right.
So it is exactly that.
Me,
absolutely. The Medium is the Message, and yes, the written word will always have more power in that way. Yeah. But these they're saying that they've been using them for work messages. Yeah. And so we don't know what it was like. What work messages were there? What time's the party?
Yeah. How many gifts? How many emojis?
What shall I bring along? Yeah. Shall I bring my own alcohol? Lots of work stuff, governmental work stuff.
How many aubergines appeared at the end of Boris's? The number of households with large debts has risen by a third. This is disturbing, from The Guardian, Sajina.
Yeah, Britain's basic number of households with large debts have risen by a third. And the number of households struggling with large debts increased by a third in 2021, even before the rise
The fuel
of
prices.
the
and
fuel
so on.
prices.
Yeah. So this
and the
is over the last 12 months.
Yeah,
or something,
yeah.
is it? Right.
And this was an analysis of the Bank of England, and they saw that almost 10% of households reported that loan and interest repayments were a heavy financial burden. And this is really worrying. So there's a 35% increase from the previous year's figures. And obviously, as things are getting worse, people are using their credit cards, they're getting bank loans. I don't know why that came into my mind. I was thinking, I don't know if you remember EastEnders, if you're EastEnders fans, I remember Arthur Fowler and his top-up loan, and he came to, crop up. So please, people out there, don't go to these horrible loan sharks.
No.
But it is worrying, because on the 1st of April, average household will experience 54% rise in bills. I mean, that's us. We're average household. And surging food and energy bills means that people are basically on the verge of poverty and debt. And that is worrying. And the average monthly loan repayments have been recorded as £373 in 2021. That's up 22% from the year before. And, of course, in this year, that's probably going to go up even further. That's a lot of money, extra money, that we're going to all need to find. I just hope Rishi Sunak is going to do, work some figures with his books and work some magic, because this is going to affect actually...
Well, we're coming in off the back, though, aren't we, of 2 years, Josh, where the government have been basically paying people to do nothing anyway. I mean, the amount of debt we've all got into, and the amount of debt that we have to try and clear somehow.
Yeah, and it wasn't enough. And as Gilles said, the big point of this article is that we were in trouble last year. It's not like these things are happening now and we're starting to get in trouble. A lot of people, with debts going up by a third, have been in trouble. And this is only going to just push things further and tip people even further over the edge. And the other thing is that I thought was quite interesting, people are talking about like this 20% a week, the universal credit uplift, and like what kind of, but for a lot of families and working families, that is a big deal. And that has been said, that the removal of that, 1 in 4 people who are going to food banks are citing that removal of that £20 as the reason. So it makes a difference.
Yeah.
It made a difference.
But it's also people like us, worryingly, that are beginning to go to food banks.
I'm particularly concerned. I spend 2 days of the week up in London doing headliners and unable to monitor the thermostat.
Yeah, well,
which has been traditionally my job and my contribution.
But that just shows you that, things have changed. So the reasons that people get into debt, and if anyone's thinking like, oh, well, maybe I'll be all right, like low income or underemployment, divorce, relationship breakdowns, high cost of living.
It's all you, isn't it?
It's all me. Overuse of credit cards, shouldn't do that. Unexpected expenses like, washing machine breaking down, car breaking down. Yeah. So basically, Top Shop and TK Maxx, declining health. So any of these things, every single person, every single citizen could fall foul of that. So we're not over exaggerating. And this whole scary thing in April, and then October with the is it tax rise in October? What have we got in October?
And you've got petrol at the moment, of course. Totally bonkers.
This goes on and on.
God, I feel like I'm waiting for a bus. 4 Israelis have been killed in Beersheba, Israel. This is from the Daily Star, Josh. Very unpleasant images.
Well, here we go. This is from the Daily Star. Arguably, a lot of people see as a joke newspaper. Yet this happened earlier today. This is, at the time of us going here, this is the only place that we could find it reported.
I'm sure this will be in the main papers.
Well, it hasn't been. It happened around midday. Why is it taken now, we're 11 o'clock at night, that the only, apart from the Jewish Chronicle and the Daily Star, this is the only place that 4 Israelis are murdered by a terrorist, by a person who's a member of ISIS, and it's not in the papers, apart from the Daily Star. Thank you, Daily Star, for mentioning it. Thank you, Jewish Chronicle, for mentioning it. Why are the other newspapers not covering it when they would cover any other kind of terrorist activity like this? 4 people murdered, 3 of them women, mothers. One of them a mother of 3. And this is how small Israel is. And I have to say, I'm Jewish, so I knew about this because I follow other Jewish people on Twitter, and Jews, we were like retweeting this straight away. But this is how small a country is, and people think Israel's some big country. It's the size of Wales. It's a tiny country. People know each other. Everyone knows each other, to the level that someone rocked up, one of the paramedics turns up, one of the women stabbed, dying, was his aunt. A policeman turns up, one of the victims was his wife. It's a tiny, tiny country. And I think it's disgusting that this wasn't covered. Maybe it will be eventually covered, but why is it taking a day for it to even be just put online in newspapers.
So you're saying none of the newspapers, apart from the Daily Star, have this on their websites at the moment? None of them.
And I think it's disgusting. And I think it's because if it had been, it's an incredibly complicated situation. In terms, this is not complicated. This is a terrorist, a member of ISIS, who stabbed 4 people and others, but 4 people have been murdered. How does that not get into national newspapers? It's disgusting. And it's because for me, they're dead Jews, so it don't count.
OK, well, that's quite a
Anyway, let's be funny now.
Accusation there from Josh. I suppose we're reviewing tomorrow's newspapers, so
let's see
if the stories are
Well, like I
there.
say, it's been half a day and there's been nothing in any other papers.
Wow, there we are. A rather depressing story to continue the tone of the first third of this show. Mirror next. This one actually feeds back into the mounting debt, domestic debt. GPs are being asked to prescribe, a GP at any rate has spoken to Manchester Evening News, I think, about being asked to prescribe nutritional shakes because of the cost of living crisis. So she's getting patients in who are not exactly ill, they're just simply coming to them because they're sort of desperate about not being able to feed their families.
Yeah, this is really, really sad. So, Starving Brits are basically this is happening in Bolton. Starving Brits asking GPs to prescribe nutritional shakes, at the cost of living a crisis. So the GPs they're saying that they're coming up to them, and again, I would mention people like us, and saying that they're having to choose, and we talk about this often, like choosing to heat your home or eat. And they're paying for the cars. These, by the way, these are not people who are claiming benefits. These are working people who just turning up the practice and asking, and they're starving. It's horrible.
This is a GP is saying.
A GP is saying this. I have to say, in my area, I wouldn't even be able to get an appointment with a GP.
No, I was quite interested to think. I mean, that you ring up at 8:30, you get the engaged signal for the first 10 minutes, then you
half an hour.
Occasionally, you get a phone back.
Yeah,
exactly. If there are people going in to see the GP to complain that it feels like a misuse of resources, which I'm not necessarily blaming the individuals for if they don't know where else they're going, but it feels like that story as much as anything else.
mean, the thing, I think that what I got from this story is that the fact that they're going to the GP and saying, look, can you give me vitamins? Can you give me something so that I can get nutrition into my body? Like,
prescribe me some
prescribe
food.
me something, smoothies or something. And having to go is to ask this for someone who's working. Now, I went and visited Pakistan once, and there was a beggars on the street, and there was a man who'd recycled rubbish and made small toys, and he was selling them. And my uncle said, look, here's I don't know what equivalent of 10 quid, and take that, and walked off. And the man threw the money back at him and said, I wasn't begging. So he was trying to make a living. So these people who are trying to make a living...
I would have taken the 10 quid, I got to be honest with you.
They're crap toys.
Yeah,
they're crap toys, yeah. But the point is that it's that humiliation. The last thing you have left is your dignity. And I think, with the last couple of years, with what's happening now financially, I think people losing their dignity, I don't know, long-term, you've mentioned about the trauma from the pandemic. I think it's just ongoing, and the people who can see it, they're angry, they're frustrated.
Well, I mean, to be honest with you, I'm not denying it, but at the same time, that's absolutely word for word the sort of story you heard during the miners' strike in 1984 or whatever. The idea that poor people lose their dignity has been an absolute constant throughout my life. And as you say, there are places like Pakistan where things are an awful lot worse. But it's a very serious situation. But I'm concerned that people are going to see their GP with it. I think maybe.
Well, I think it's that she's raising people's diets, or they're saying that is there a possibility? But it's an anecdotal story.
Yeah.
It's one GP. They spoke to others,
and it's in the Daily Mirror, which hates the government. But I do think that if they're going to draw anything from it, what they should do is say, this is a website where you can find out what you can do in order to make sure that you maintain sufficient nutrition levels to keep your family alive.
Well, this is a sort of side story to that. It does mention it, but it's about nutrition levels where when you're eating sugary food, they're the cheapest, and that is going to make your diet worse. It's going to lead to mental health issues and just bad health issues.
Well, we're going to take a break now. If you manage to survive the commercial...
No sugar during the break.
Keep warm. It's turning into the opening episode of scenes of...
We'll be funny. We'll be funny in the next part.
We've got more fun
with Nail and I or something. Yeah. But stay tuned to find out more about the New World Order, dodgy politicians being dodgy, of course, and a record-breaking art sale as well. I'll see you in a couple of minutes.
GB News is the UK's home of discussion and debate.
From all perspectives.
To stay up to date on the latest stories,
make sure that you subscribe to the GB News channel
right here on YouTube.
You can watch us live 24/7 across the whole world.
You can also check out exclusive content and catch up on previous episodes of your favourite shows.
Every day, we ask the questions
that you'd ask, so why not add your voice to the conversation in the comments section?
Don't forget to subscribe. We are GB News, Britain's news channel.
Every night at 11 on GB News, we bring you the next day's stories the day before.
It's basically like time travel.
If it's a big story, we'll cover it, guaranteed. But we'll also have some fun along the way.
Big opinions, big laughs. Sometimes big hair.
This is
Headliners, the paper review show that won't send you to sleep like the others will.
11 p.m, 7 nights a week. Join us.
Hello there, I'm Eamon Holmes.
And I'm Isabel Webster.
And we hope you can join us for
Breakfast with Eamon.
And Isabel.
You make me laugh out loud, belly laugh.
Is that important first thing in the morning?
Yeah, absolutely.
And there's me trying to be deadly serious. News is a serious business.
Yeah, I have to rein you in sometimes.
Well, it doesn't stop us laughing at it. It doesn't stop us having an opinion on what's going on.
Yeah.
And it certainly will not stop us reflecting what you think.
Weekdays from 6 to 9:30 on GB News.
I'm Dan Wootton. Join me Monday to Thursday from 9 to 11 for the feistiest and most fun news debate on TV, where free speech reigns. I'll bring you a sharp take on the day's biggest stories, bombshell newsmaker interviews, and A-list guests. And I guarantee you, no spin, no bias, no censorship, and no reason to go to bed. That's Dan Wootton tonight, Monday to Thursdays from 9 on GB News.
Welcome back to Headliners. I'm Simon Evans. My guests are still Sajid Kershi and Josh Howie. Sharon Davis has blasted Labour MP Charlotte Nichols for certain comments, Josh, concerning transgender swimmer Leah Thomas.
Wow.
This is all escalating quickly.
I'm getting it all. These are my favourite subjects here.
Yeah.
Jews and the trans issue. So Sharon Davis, Olympic medalist.
You're not trans.
Well, I am interested in the trans issue,
Okay.
or should I say I'm interested in women's rights issues. And basically, yes, Labour MP Charlotte Nichols put out what I think is one of the stupidest tweets I've ever seen. Basically saying, I used to compete as a in sport in professional swimming, and Leah Williams deserves her medal, and there was nothing unfair. And what it's like. And this is a real. And I want Labour to get back into power. I want them to do good in this country. And I think they can. But when you've got Labour MPs like this going out and writing the most ridiculous stuff that anyone with eyes can see that is a biological man and it's unfair, like, it's crazy. If Labour can't get their act together and be able to define what a woman is, they're in problem.
She actually said, didn't she? I think anyone who fails to see how much hard work and preparation goes into training for like a swimming race, we're like, that isn't the point. I'm not saying she didn't practice.
No, 463rd as a biological man, and then transitioned, taking hormones or suppressing their testosterone, and because they went through male puberty, she still has all of these advantages, and has now miraculously gone to first.
What do you think, Sajid?
Well, OK, so just to pick up what you said about Labour getting... Yes, of course, I'm a lefty, so of course I'd like them to get in. But I do think part of this issue with not addressing women's rights and addressing, the whole debate around, gender versus biology is... I do think it's because they're still smarting from accusations of anti-Semitism.
That's not accusations. They were found guilty by the EHRC of being anti-Semitic.
Mummy speaking.
Well, Daddy is saying that's what happened, OK?
But the thing is, I don't actually blame Leah Thomas, right? I think she's doing what she's doing.
Yeah.
Well, who I blame are the authorities. I blame the government. I blame Labour. I blame all these people who are being too cowardly.
Well, it is in America,
It's in America.
It's a worldwide issue at the moment,
but just they're being really cowardly about
the government
not addressing... Yeah, because... I'm sorry, Labour.
Labour
They're being really cowardly for not addressing this and not saying, look, because they're too scared to get on the wrong side of people.
What would have been wrong
And that is, I
about
think, generally...
this Labour MP just not putting out a tweet about it at all?
Well, she was asked in a tweet, and yes, she could have just ignored it. But it's Labour needs to come together, and because some of their Labour MPs have received tremendous abuse for just stating that biological sex is real and is important, and you have a conflict, and her accusation of anyone criticising this or saying it's unfair as being transphobic, it's not. It's fighting for fairness for women's rights.
And to be fair, that she's only got about a 1,500 majority, isn't she? I mean, she's going to throw it away if she angers a northern working class constituency with nonsense like this. It seems extraordinarily, it's just a straightforward strategic blunder as well, isn't it?
This is an argument that's existed on Twitter for a couple of years. Now it's coming out into the real world. People can see photos with their own eyes.
But don't you think that this is actually, the tide is turning a little bit now?
Yeah.
I think people are speaking now. We talked about this before, how, like, from now on, we're going to, we're not going to...
But for some time now, you would probably say, without getting bogged down in this whole massive issue about Labour, but I would probably say that one of the big turnarounds of the last sort of 10 years, and it's happened in America as well, is that the Labour Party is now the party of the metropolitan intellectual, and the Conservative Party is the party of the what you would traditionally regard as the working class, who have socially conservative values.
Yeah, and I want Labour to win back those people, and they're not going to do it by tweets like this.
Joe Biden, speaking of metropolitan intellectuals, Joe Biden was caught using the words New World Order. I always knew he was a lizard, but Josh, maybe you'll leap to his defence as well, I don't know.
It's an unfortunate phrasing there.
It's not that sinister, is it?
It's not that
really?
sinister, but of course the conspiracy theorists with the lizard theories and whatever will leap upon it as proof of chips in people's COVID, injections or whatever. But when you place it within context, of course, but then we don't do that anymore, do we? People forget that there's...
What's the context?
The context was he's talking about how the world's going to change in its relationship to Putin. And, of course, then there will be a new world order that is constructed around that.
Well, not necessarily, of course. I mean, it might be desirable, but there is the alternative, is to go to the, what they would call the status quo ante, I think, is it usually referred with things back to as normal as they were before, whereas he is seeing this as an opportunity.
As a paradigm shift,
Yeah. Well, what's the paradigm shift then? No Russia?
Well, not depending on Russia, gas and oil,
right?
And the shifting of the alliances, and I guess bringing NATO closer together.
Not relying on Russia, gas and oil, switching instead to a green.
Well, and maybe nuclear
economy.
power, or whatever. But the point
sounds
is,
like the New World Order.
It goes into a wider conversation he was having, not talking about like lizards or not talking about conspiracies, not talking about whatever, but just the reality of the geopolitical shift.
What do you think, Sajida? Is there a new world order on the horizon?
I think, obviously they've got the conspiracy theories, but I think there is a new world coming. I don't think we can ever be the same as we were 3 years ago. No. Everything's changed. We've got not just pandemic, but the war. Alliances, as you say, have changed. I kind of agree with that. I don't think we should sort of harp on to...
America is a hollow husk protected by the biggest military the world has ever seen.
But I just think if you are the American president, it's probably you would maybe want to avoid that phrasing.
This is why I think they would be so much better off if they had a young, healthy, like Macron, Blair-type leader who wouldn't just like lose his way and accidentally mutter. Well, I'm not saying I like Macron or Blair. My politics aren't the same as theirs, but at least they give the impression of being with it. You know what I mean? You just have this horrible feeling that Biden is accidentally letting slip things that are just like flaring up in his mind.
I personally was just happy that he beat Trump. Like, I wasn't a Trump fan at all, but as things go, it's not like he's brilliant either.
No. Andy Warhol's Marilyn is set to go on sale. One of them, I say his one Marilyn. I think the whole point was that they were a mass-produced set, weren't they? That seemed to be what he was satirising. But anyway, this is from the Times.
OK, so Andy Warhol's portrait of Marilyn Monroe is expected to become the most expensive artwork of the 20th century, and he's selling at auction when offered at Christie's later on this year, expected to get $200 million, which is an outrageous amount. And at the time of Warhol's death, he was worth, with all his body of work, $220 million.
Wow.
So, like, just one piece of his work. Now, the silkscreen painting...
When was that, in the 80s?
We've got a photo, sorry.
Was it in the 80s he died?
He died 1980-something, wasn't it? And he painted it, actually, the same month that Marilyn Monroe died. She died, I think it was 5th of August 1962, so he painted it later.
Did he actually paint it as a screen?
It's a silk screen.
I doubt he was even there. I bet he wasn't even there.
No, so it was a
pulled
silk
in.
screen from a photo that was taken from the film. What was the film that she came in?
Misfits?
Oh, Niagara.
Oh,
Oh, that's
Niagara,
actually, I love
okay.
that film. Yeah, and there was a series of 5 of them, different colours, an orange, turquoise, light blue, sage blue, and it was a turquoise one, wasn't part of that.
Yeah.
And I didn't know this, but there's actually, it's called Marilyn Shot, because his friend, a photographer, said, do you mind if I shoot these, like portraits? And he said, of course. So she puts her gloves on and gets a little pistol out of her bag and shoots through the Marilyn's head.
Wow.
That's why it's called Marilyn Shot, but the turquoise one survived. So there's 5 of them altogether. But anyway, so it's $200 million.
I mean, there's nothing you can do about this, is there? There's no point in kind of complaining about it. I suppose you could tax it. I suppose you could introduce...
Well, I mean, this actually, the money is going to charity.
I was going to say,
so-
Fair enough. OK.
Yeah,
But
so that's a good thing.
It's just depressing, isn't it? I mean, the whole point of Warhol's paintings was that he was satirising the sort of hollowness, the emptiness, the tawdriness of American consumer culture and the aesthetics that it used to, regenerate itself. It's beyond satire.
Well, pop will eat
Was
itself.
it soup?
Yeah.
Campbell's soup. Which
And
is
there's
it?
some comment from Christie's auction house saying this is one of the greatest paintings of the 20th century. I mean, it wouldn't even go on my fridge door, honestly. Second homes, the scourge of rural communities. This is from the Metro. Who's got this? Julia, you got this again?
Have I?
This is a Cornish community have been vandalising second homes.
Next.
So basically, get off my land.
Yeah.
It's kind of
Have
really
you got
get
this
off.
one or no?
Get
Maybe
off. I don't know if you can see it there anywhere.
it is.
Okay, there you go.
You
All
got
right,
it,
brilliant.
yeah.
Silly eyesight.
There's a,
get
it's
off my
been
land.
an ongoing thing again throughout my life. People in Cornwall are fed up with second homeowners.
Yeah, second homeowners.
Some sort of...
So what they've done is they've graffitied their homes,
Yeah.
and someone said like second homeowners rent or sell your empty house to local people at a fair price.
Yeah.
And it's angered locals because they can't afford to live there, and they're told it's empty like half the year. But some people don't agree with this, like with the vandalism. This is vandalism and it's completely unnecessary. Of course, we are all unhappy with second homes taking the houses in the villages, but this is vandalism.
Yeah, go on.
I was going to say, I love that they're kind of fighting back in a way. I mean, maybe not the graffiti, but they're really making a case for stop doing this. It's ruining Cornwall. I've only been there once. I don't know about you, but
disgusting. I can't believe you went to Cornwall. You're part of the system. What are you doing?
Down to your dad.
People, yeah.
I mean, I don't remember. I remember Straw Dogs, Dustin Hoffman and Susan George.
great
Remember that?
film.
I mean,
That's a
that's
terrifying movie,
that was the 1960s. It's been simmering there for some time.
It's not new stuff. But I do like that. Someone did say about the graffiti. Said it's a reasonable and polite request. To be fair,
Yes.
which I think that is maybe this is how they communicate.
Would you mind going home?
Yeah, exactly. Or just like, can I borrow some milk? Just graffiti it across. Do you have any sugar?
I have one small suspicion, which I'm just going to voice. I have no idea whether it's grounded or not.
God,
whether
here
it's
we
the
go. I sense a
statistics bear
clip
it out.
coming.
I think that possibly the older generation in Cornwall blame the Londoners who buy the second homes on the fact that their children leave Cornwall as soon as they've grown up, grown old enough, and they want to go to the big city. And they think if only the homes here were cheaper, they would possibly stay here. Whereas in reality, the young people just want to get out and they want to go and find, because they think life is elsewhere. As you get a bit older, Cornwall becomes appealing again. But the fact is, Cornwall is now enormously reliant on tourism, and that is a little bit like possibly what you were saying about dignity earlier. Dignity is a tricky thing, and I do think there is possibly a certain amount of they feel an unwelcome tension with the tourism industry because the Rick Stein and kind of restaurant business and all that kind of thing. Some very wealthy people go down to Cornwall and enjoy a very good holiday lifestyle.
And it's very beautiful.
And places
there.
like Salcombe, which I think might be in Devon technically, but it's like a Monte Carlo. I mean, amazing yachts and beautiful, wonderful place to go and spend that time. That is kind of how the economy works there now, because there aren't any tin mines anymore, and there's only so many slates that you can write house numbers on or whatever, to survive on that. What do you think? Is that a decent theory?
I think it's a good theory. I'm looking forward to reading your book.
Yeah. OK, that's the end of part 2. I think we've managed to turn a corner and tweak the mood in an upward direction. Join us in a minute to celebrate the health benefits of coffee and why those damn statues just won't stop being racist. See you in a minute.
GB News is the UK's home of discussion and debate.
From all perspectives.
To stay up to date on the latest stories,
Make sure that you subscribe to the GB News channel.
Right here on YouTube.
You can watch us live 24/7 across the whole world.
You can also check out exclusive content and catch up on previous episodes of your favourite shows.
Every day, we ask the questions
That you'd ask, so why not add your voice to the conversation in the comments section?
Don't forget to subscribe. We are GB News, Britain's news channel.
Every night at 11 on GB News, we bring you the next day's stories the day before.
Basically like time travel.
If it's a big story, we'll cover it, guaranteed. But we'll also have some fun along the way.
Big opinions, big laughs. Sometimes big hair.
This is
Headliners, the paper review show that won't send you to sleep like the others will.
11 p.m, 7 nights a week. Join us.
Hello there, I'm Eamon Holmes.
And I'm Isabel Webster.
And we hope you can join us for
Breakfast with Eamon.
And Isabel.
You make me laugh out loud, belly laugh.
Is that important first thing in the morning?
Yeah, absolutely.
And there's me trying to be deadly serious. News is a serious business.
Yeah, I have to rein you in sometimes.
Well, it doesn't stop us laughing at it. It doesn't stop us having an opinion on what's going on.
Yeah.
And it certainly will not stop us reflecting what you think.
Weekdays from 6 to 9:30 on GB News.
I'm Dan Wootton. Join me Monday to Thursday from 9 to 11 for the feistiest and most fun news debate on TV, where free speech reigns. I'll bring you a sharp take on the day's biggest stories, bombshell newsmaker interviews, and A-list guests. And I guarantee you, no spin, no bias, no censorship, and no reason to go to bed. That's Dan Wootton tonight, Monday to Thursdays from 9 on GB News.
And welcome back to Headliners. Let's crack on with the show. The terrorist threat level has been reduced in Northern Ireland. This is the first time for 12 years, I believe, Sajila, is that right?
Yeah, terrorism threat level in Northern Ireland has been lowered from severe to substantial for the first time in 12 years.
Yoo-hoo! That's not bad.
Now, what that means is threat level has decreased from will get blown up to maybe might get blown up.
From severe to substantial.
But yeah, I mean, I didn't even know, I'll be honest, I didn't even know that was still an issue, because I remember the IRA, and I remember that it was literally like they handed over the terrorist baton to, Islamic extremists, and now it feels like they obviously had some splinter groups in there, just like, Al-Qaeda took it to ISIS, and, they've got like...
I think, to be fair, within Northern Ireland, the two, and to be fair again, it's not just the IRA, the Nationalists had their side as well, but I think homegrown terror remained a more serious threat than Islamism in Northern
in Ireland itself, but we didn't get it. We didn't get like... Look,
it was off the mainland, yeah.
Like, I remember that we used to get the phone calls.
Northern Ireland has changed massively over even the last 10 years or so. I mean, going to Belfast, we do gigs in Belfast, you've seen what's happening. It's become a more prosperous place, and that does lead to peace. And it seems to be, which is a great thing.
One of the friends of the show, although he's not actually on here, Jeff Norcott, who was tweeting that he was in Belfast saying this city is just great.
It's amazing.
Fantastic. I haven't been there for a few years. I always liked going there anyway, the Empire gig.
It's a great gig. Fun.
But apparently it's really shiny and bright now. It just has a kind of real different vibe. And of course the south is party central, wherever you go, from West End and East End. So
took Simon out with his
good
parties.
For them. Well, I just think that's fantastic. But I have to say, being just a tiny bit controversial or provocative, I'm particularly interested and enthusiastic about this news, because I remember having several rows with people on Twitter who were absolutely sure that the disregard that Brexit voters showed for sustained peace in Northern Ireland was absolutely disgusting, and that they couldn't believe these people would countenance a return to the bad old days of the 70s by throwing open the Good Friday Agreement was going to be rubble, and there was no possible way of reconciling these two warring factions without that political fudge which had been achieved. And it turns out, no. It turns out there is actually a desire and an appetite for
I used to also make that argument on Twitter, and I don't think we came to blows about it, but I did think like that. I hope that this continues as is, because that's only.
It just seems to me that people, if you have a will, you can make these things.
I don't think that Boris Johnson was great during those negotiations, and
it was possibly, in fact, almost certainly overlooked. I just thought the idea that it was, it could be held over our heads. Anyway, Glas, thank you very much, Northern Ireland and all the peace-loving peoples for reassuring and confirming that...
your substantial terrorist threat.
Glasgow City Council has audited its statues, and it's bad news, of course. This is from The Express, Josh?
This is from The Express, and we're covering it on GB News, and that's just the way it goes. Statues, let's go back to statues. Wow, God, statues feel like the good old days.
Yeah.
Yeah, the good old...
Mid-2020 was the height of the statue.
The height of the statues, yeah.
That's when the fellow went into Bristol Dock.
So they've... Glasgow City Council, they have commissioned this report. The report's come back saying that some statues are dodgy or, possibly need to be looked at. And some of them, some of these examples they've chosen are just absolutely ridiculous. You've got Gladstone and Mr. Peel, who were anti-slavery campaigners, but because of their connections through their father.
Gladstone's name was taken off a university building, if I remember.
Yeah, I mean, it's ridiculous. David Livingstone, he worked as a spinner in a mill that used West Indian cotton. Well, he was exploited as well. You're working in a mill. That ain't exactly... No.
David Livingstone, the explorer.
That's what I'm guessing. So yeah, it must be him. So
I'd be very surprised if that's the most problematic incident.
Well, that's what they're saying is the reason why is because he worked in a mill that used this cotton. I mean, that's ridiculous. I mean, yes, there are problematic statues, but get it right. If that's your job is to find these statues out, at least get it right.
Maybe there aren't. Maybe they've run out. It does feel to me sometimes like there are people who seem to be invested in the idea of just rubbishing the history of these.
Well, there's also people who make a living out of it now.
Yeah, well, that's where I want to jump in, is the history. So, OK, I'm not necessarily a fan of, getting rid of cancelling statues because there are links to slavery. I think we shouldn't forget that history and that these statues are actually important to remind us that these people did do these things. In this instance, I mean, I can't believe even the headline hatchet job, woke slavery audit lists the next 8 statues to be cancelled. So I think that's actually, I don't want them cancelled. I want us to remember the history of the ugly.
But even if you have a statue of William Gladstone, I don't know why he's there, but William Gladstone was arguably the single greatest reforming prime minister.
Well, they're saying because his dad wasn't, because he must.
Yeah, but is it a statue of his dad?
Pay for the crimes of the father.
Well, that's exactly what.
If it's a statue of his dad, it's not.
No, it's not. It's a statue.
And we have been through this before because he was definitely cancelled from I think it was a Hall of Residence in Liverpool. It was renamed because of this ridiculous association again.
Yeah.
So we've been through this. It's ridiculous.
It's...
And what does Glasgow think it's going to achieve with this in particular? I mean, it's not a,
part of me's like, it's ridiculous, but part of me also realises that the article, and even us by even talking about it, are sort of promoting this kind of...
No, I don't think we're promoting. I think we're drawing attention to it, and people can become aware that they've got a council that's engaged in all kinds of frippery and nonsense. We can't imagine Glasgow's got money to waste.
Well, it's just at the end of the article, it goes, the council has previously...
losing a place where men can pee when they get drunk and come out the pubs. Maybe that's the only thing. I don't know.
Place for a pigeon to perch. Yes. Emmanuel Macron has made rather a disappointing decision in the Telegraph. So this
is interesting. So Emmanuel Macron has given Renault. Do you remember the Nicole?
Yeah. Do I?
Yeah, do I?
Hello.
Why do you
think I bought this jacket from Topman just on the off chance? I have to bump into
her little Renault Clio that lots of young girls say Papa or Nicole. Well, Emmanuel Macron wants to has given Renault the green light to resume car production in Russia. So obviously, with all the the Western boycotts, his government has backed the French car maker decision to ignore the boycott and start manufacturing Russia again. And I think this is interesting because how far are people going to... Because obviously financially this is going to affect people, economically, and will they stick to the boycotts? And I'm wondering how many more businesses now will decide to...
Because Renault is essentially a state-owned company, or at least majority share owner, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I think all of the... all the Citroën, Peugeot and Renault, I think they're all state owned to a large extent.
That's why they're so great.
Well, I mean, it's an interesting point. It's quite a different model generally, and if there is any sort of moral superiority to be had from that, if it's supposed to be a socialist project, then you would think this was an opportunity for them to demonstrate that they were better than the private
And it's
sector.
not just that company. There's another company which is kind of like the IKEA of France called Decathlon, and a family there are going straight into
Decathlon, the sports shop.
I believe so. Well, it's retail tycoons. I don't know Decathlon, but basically the family are saying that they want to fill the vacuum that's been made by these Western companies leaving, and they're going to make a profit. And I think it's disgusting. But there you go.
Difficult for them, I suppose, because there's probably not that many. I mean, it is tricky if you say, well, other companies haven't situated
McDonald's has closed all of their company.
Yeah, but if you've situated your plant in Russia, or maybe I don't know whether they bought.
It's not for them making Renault. They're making larders there.
Okay.
So yes, they're going to lose out on money, no doubt. But then, how many other companies are losing out on money by pulling out of Russia?
You make a good point, though, Sajila. It will be interesting to see how long people's determination to do the right thing survives, as you say, once people start getting hungry, etc. A Japanese company have invented a tool that enables us to feel unnecessary pain. This seems an interesting concept. Come in on an evening like this, Josh.
Yeah, this is just because I think that people online need to feel more pain.
Yeah. This is in the metaverse, though, right?
This is in the metaverse. So people,
the
virtual
metaverse
reality
feels as
goggles
miserable as reality.
Yeah, exactly like that. So when you get like someone trolling you on Twitter, you can just get like a punch in the face to go along with it, I think is the idea. Yeah, this article fits into like my favourite sort of subgenre of articles, which is where they've just cut and pasted the press release and then they just put it into the article. So like later on, it starts talking about how people can do their favourite childhood activities, like the sensation of throwing a ball with a parent. And you think, oh, really, that's a British thing, is it? Like a British journalist wrote that about us. That's what we all do when we go home. We all go, we all throw the ball with our parents. It's like cut and paste.
But what is the?
So yeah, it's a glove basically that's going to allow you to feel and have.
Glove.
It's an arm. Well, it's not really actually. It's going to be more than that, and so it gives you that sort of tactile feeling. And they're saying that it can constrict as well as cause pain, but also cause different sensations.
Is this so that if you're playing like a shoot-'em-up kind of war game, it makes you feel pain? But I thought the metaverse was more like something where you went to sort of have coffee with your friends or something.
Well, it's a bit of both. So you can play games at like shoot-'em-ups, and you can also go.
And as we know, we've covered here before weddings, like they've had a Bollywood,
Meta
like
wedding.
an Indian wedding. Like you invite like 2,000 people in the real world.
Yeah.
In the metaverse, it costs
you give
next
a meta
to nothing.
gift.
Yeah, meta gift. I don't like the idea of this armband by giving you pain. Why do I want pain? I want a metaverse thing that strokes my hair, brushes my hair, tucks me into bed, puts the bins out.
Gosh.
I know that sounds like a relationship.
Metaverse.
But I just realised there's probably a metaverse carer.
I bet obviously there is going to be an erotic metaverse, isn't there?
Yeah,
that's easily going to be what makes or breaks the thing. It always has been in the past. Basically, how successful is this medium for advancing the cause of pornography? That's always been what's worked for sort of everything, DVDs, the internet, the lot, wasn't it?
This is going to be good for S&M people.
Yeah. So you'll have the big armband for the pain. Anyway, a rich 9-year-old boy, a mega rich 9-year-old boy has been sticking it to Putin. This is the richest boy in Africa, I believe.
Africa's richest 9-year-old breaks Ukraine silence to ruthlessly mock Vladimir Putin. And this 9-year-old kid is called Monfort Jr. He's spoken out about Vladimir Putin's invasion. Now, he's really, really rich. Apparently, we've got a photo of him. Have we? Have we got one? Anyway, he's very rich. He's like an Instagram.
Oh, there he is.
Look,
Wow.
like in front of his Lamborghini. But I don't know if it's like, is that made for him?
He looks like he's been shopping in TK Maxx.
TK Maxx, yeah. Because you can get Gucci and TK Maxx.
I've got an outfit just now.
Yeah,
I don't think they sell that in TK Maxx, but I would buy it.
Oh my God, look, that's
red and yellow.
Oh yeah, and that's his mansion. So his
look
dad,
at a 9-year-old wearing a mask.
His dad has bought him a mansion. He's bought him his first Bentley, a silver car, at 6, and he's 8 years old now. 9 years old, and he's one of the richest kids, son of a multi-millionaire Ismaila Mustafa. Now, what is it? So he basically put something on Instagram saying how Putin is behaving with the world right now, and put a little link to Family Guy sketch showing an erratic Putin. So I think the story
Erratic Putin.
That's
not a huge
no.
metaphoric leap, is it?
this is really not a story about Putin at all. It's about this little kid being nine-year-old, stinking rich.
And his dad put on Instagram, his dad said he deserves some accolades because he paid his dues in full.
I know.
I mean, this is sort of gaslighting on a Labour MP female swimmer scale.
Puts a lot of things into perspective. A race discrimination case has taken a funny turn. Josh, this is from the Mail.
Yeah, this is from the Mail. This is pretty funny. So this guy, he was on 60 grand a year, city broker, missed 55 days work, and he went sick. He was celebrating Diwali, and then he texted his boss just saying, look, I overdrank, I vomited, I passed out, and I woke up an hour ago. And then he basically sued them for race discrimination, but he's lost the case because they found out, essentially, he said that he was sick and he needed surgery, and he went off for 11 days, and then he couldn't produce any certificates that any of that happened.
Right.
So there was like a whole bunch of stuff that happened. He said that he's suffering from PTSD because there was like a tremor when he was a kid, like an earthquake, and the floor on the trading floor reminded him of that. So like,
wow.
And essentially he would go to Amsterdam a lot and party too hard, and then just be like, oh, I missed my flight. Oh, I'm coming back tomorrow. And this just
sort
went
of
on and on.
fantasist alcoholic and drug addict. What do you think?
Well, I think he was treated differently, definitely, for being a lazy bum. But I do think he probably thinks he's the Indian Wolf of Wall Street. I think that's what he was trying to do.
What would that be?
Which was obviously living the high life, like spending 4 days to celebrate Diwali instead of the one, and getting drunk and maybe.
Sounds like a good guy. I want to hang out with him if he's around.
60,000 K. I don't think he's that sorry, is he? But
I don't know. 60K a year is not that big for a city broker, is it? It's not that great. Maybe
I guess you're a couple more TK Maxx jackets.
He's not going to earn his bonuses if he's not showing up to work. I don't know. What is the Wolf of Wall Street for India? Is that? Do you have wolves actually? You don't.
Yeah,
in the Jungle
because
Book,
of
they
the
have
Jungle
wolves.
Book,
Alcala.
Yeah.
I was just trying to think what would be a different, but no. Where you don't get them is Wall Street. To be fair. The health benefits of coffee. Now, this is my kind of story. This perks me up.
Okay, so obviously, viewers, we all come in, have our little coffees, don't we? And how your daily coffee habit boosts your health. The body benefits of drinking coffee from 1 cup a day to 6. So apparently there's health benefits. So 1 cup of coffee a day, how it helps your health is it boosts your alertness and aids bowel movements. And we can all attest to that.
Yeah.
The morning coffee.
And it stops you killing yourself as
and
well.
helps stop you from killing yourself. I didn't know that.
I get.
But I guess if bowels don't move, maybe that's what you want to do. I don't know. So 2 cups a day improves your exercise endurance and protects your heart. 3 cups a day may lower a chance of a stroke or Parkinson's. That's quite a tall order, 3 cups of those. But, of course, there are the negative sides, because if you're a bit allergic, it can also give you the shits.
Oh, my gosh. Yeah.
It can leave you diarrhea.
I don't drink coffee. I never drink coffee.
You're joking?
No, I don't drink.
You're like this without coffee.
Yeah, that's exactly why.
Absolutely appalling.
No, I'm just on drugs. It's fine. But this is But I did like it how it said, indeed, it says both regular and decaffeinated coffee causes contractions in the lower bowel within 4 minutes. And I was just wondering, how long have we got left on the show? Let's have a little experiment now.
That is all we have time for this evening. I have been going 8 hours without coffee to get to this point in the day, and this is as far as I can go. My thanks very much to Josh and Sajila. Apologies for the foul language. Right at the end of the show there, it was met with the best of intent. Thank you very much for watching. We'll see you tomorrow evening. Cheerio. Good night.
Hello there, I'm Eamon Holmes.
And I'm Isabel Webster.
And we hope you can join us for
Breakfast with Eamon.
And Isabel.
You make me laugh out loud, belly laugh.
Is that important first thing in the morning?
Yeah, absolutely.
And there's me trying to be deadly serious. News is a serious business.
Yeah, I have to rein you in sometimes.
Well, it doesn't stop us laughing at it. It doesn't stop us having an opinion.